The story begins with a group of individuals dressed in all black, their faces concealed, but their sinister intentions evident. They infiltrate a museum-like location, splitting up to carry out their mission. One of them enters a secret room and approaches a box containing a magical stone. As he attempts to take the stone, he is shocked by a protective spell. Realizing the box is guarded by magic, he pulls out an enchanted sword, breaks the protective barrier, and takes the magical stone. He leaves the place laughing, clearly plotting something dangerous. To uncover who they are and what they want, stay tuned, dear viewer. You'll understand everything. The next day, we meet a beautiful girl named Yona, a student at a secret magical school. We learn that she is a phantom hunter, tasked with eliminating evil spirits and demons bent on destroying the world. The same figures in black we saw earlier. Yona and her fellow hunters must stop them. Yona visits the school's headmistress, who informs her that the phantoms have stolen the magical stones, putting the entire world in danger. Most of her fellow hunters have already gone to the human world to apprehend the phantoms. The headmistress assigns Yona a mission to disguise herself as a regular student and infiltrate a human school to locate the phantoms. She gives Yona a magical tool to detect their presence and warns her that the mission will be challenging and requires her full focus. Though Yona is nervous, she is determined and promises to complete the mission. She asks for a weapon to fight the phantoms, but the headmistress refuses, reminding her that she is still in training. Her task is only to locate the phantoms, leaving their capture to the others. Yona feels disappointed and frustrated, yearning to prove herself in battle, but she reluctantly obeys. She bids farewell to the headmistress, steps through a magical portal, and is transported to the human world. 2 months pass. We find Yona sitting in a classroom at a high school where she is disguised as an ordinary student. However, she feels bored and disheartened because no phantoms have appeared yet. She keeps observing her classmates, hoping to find someone possessed by a phantom, but everyone seems normal. She realizes that pinpointing their location will not be easy. After class, the teacher asks a student to help carry books to the office. The books are too heavy for the student, and he drops them, causing his classmates to laugh and mock him for being weak. The boy feels humiliated, but Yona steps in, helps him pick up the books, and carries them with him. The boy is touched by her kindness and thanks her. Later, Yona leaves the classroom and continues to watch her classmates, trying to spot any unusual behavior. That's when she notices the class president. She admires his handsome appearance and finds herself staring, wishing she could get to know him. We learn his name is Young, but she reminds herself that she is on a mission and must stay focused. Her thoughts are interrupted by her classmate John, who offers her some sweets and thanks her for helping his friend carry the books while everyone else was bullying him. Yona is pleased by his kind words and thanks him. Later, as she leaves school, she eats the sweets happily, but gets frustrated with herself for momentarily forgetting her mission. She reminds herself that she is here to capture the phantoms. Suddenly, she notices an old man struggling to push a cart. Feeling sorry for him, she decides to help. Using her powers, she casts a magical spell that breaks the stone blocking the cart's movement. The old man is bewildered, wondering where she got such strength. Meanwhile, we see John heading to the baseball field, training hard because he dreams of becoming a professional player. He invites his weaker friend to practice with him. When John opens his bag to grab his baseball bat, he is surprised to find it heavier than usual. He realizes he has gained unusual strength. As he rummages through his bag, he notices it's filled with sweets, which puzzles him since he is an athlete and not supposed to eat such things. John starts to feel uneasy and refuses to explain why he has them. We learn he's been buying the sweets for Yona because he has a crush on her. John's friend leaves to change his clothes in the locker room, where a bully is waiting for him. The bully shoves him to the ground, starts beating him up, and threatens him to do his homework or face worse consequences. Suddenly, John walks in, pushes the bully away from his friend, and warns him to stay away or face regret. The bully mocks John, thinking he's weak. John reveals he's a professional boxer and not someone to mess with. Unconvinced, the bully attacks John, but John easily dodges his punches and lands a powerful strike to his stomach. At that moment, Yona is sitting in her dorm room when she notices the magical device she has glowing. She can't believe her eyes. It means a phantom has appeared nearby. She grabs the device and rushes to locate it. She arrives just in time to see John fighting the bully, and she's impressed by his strength. However, she suspects that the phantom has possessed him. Excited by her discovery, she decides to report it to the headmistress. The next day, Yona meets with the headmistress and explains what happened. She tells her that a student in her class has supernatural strength and insists that the phantom must be controlling him. Yona requests that a professional demon hunter be sent to capture the phantom and save the student. However, the headmistress doubts her story and asks her to confirm it before making any decisions. The headmistress leaves, and at that moment, Yona spots a magical ring in the office. She decides to secretly take it. The following day, Yona returns to school and continues observing John from a distance. She notices him easily defeating all the other students in strength-based games, confirming her belief that he has extraordinary power and must be under the phantom's control. Determined to prove her theory, she approaches John and asks for his help to lift a heavy box. John is surprised that she asked him instead of Young, but Yona nervously explains it's because he's the strongest student in the class. Flattered, John agrees to help. John tries to lift the box, but Yona secretly uses the magical ring to increase its weight, hoping to force him to unleash the phantom's power. However, John struggles, unable to lift the box, and collapses under its weight. The box falls on top of him, and he faints. Shocked and feeling guilty, Yona rushes him to the infirmary, where the nurse assures her he's fine but needs rest. Overwhelmed with guilt, Yona realizes she was wrong about John. She decides to return the magical ring to the headmistress before she notices it's missing. She heads to the library, where a magical portal is located, but is stunned to find that the portal has disappeared. Meanwhile, the bully learns that John is in the infirmary and seizes the opportunity to confront John's friend. The bully mocks him, believing him to be weak, and orders him to obey or face the consequences. However, to everyone's surprise, the timid student's eyes change color, and he starts laughing maniacally. It's revealed that he is the phantom. At the same time, Yona notices her magical device glowing again, indicating the phantom's presence. She rushes to the source and arrives at the field, where she finds the bully lying on the ground and the timid student standing over him, his appearance transformed. Yona realizes she's been deceived. This is the real phantom she's been searching for. Determined, she confronts him and engages in a fight. Although she manages to land a hit, the phantom becomes enraged. Using all his strength, he charges at her, knocking her to the ground. He was about to finish her off, but luckily, John arrived just in time to save her. Confused and unsure of what was happening, he listened as Yona told him they were in danger and asked for his help, promising to explain everything later. John reluctantly trusted her, and together they confronted the phantom. John managed to immobilize it, giving Yona the opportunity to act. She used the magical ring to transform it into a powerful sword and struck the phantom, successfully defeating it. She expelled the phantom from the timid student's body, imprisoned it, and retrieved the magical stone it had. John, still in shock and unable to process what he had seen, asked Yona who she was and demanded an explanation. Yona decided to sit down with him and reveal the truth. She told him she was a demon hunter sent to this world on a secret mission to capture phantoms and recover their magical stones. Although her story sounded unbelievable, John believed her. When he saw that the timid student had returned to his normal self and couldn't remember anything, he grew even more curious. Yona explained that when a phantom is expelled from a human, the host loses all memories of the possession. John was stunned by this revelation and asked if Yona planned to stay at the school. She explained that she had to stay because the magical portal that transported her to her world had disappeared, and she couldn't return for now. She needed to complete her mission and capture all the phantoms in the school. Inspired by her determination, John offered to help her with her mission, saying that he was strong and could protect her. Yona was delighted by his offer and agreed, but made him promise to keep it a secret. She told him she would head to the library to search for the portal and asked him to go to his baseball training to avoid suspicion. John agreed, changed into his training gear, and headed to the field. At the field, John began practicing baseball. Because of his good looks, he attracted a crowd of female admirers who cheered him on. One of his teammates grew jealous of the attention John received and admitted he had a crush on a girl, but was too scared to confess. John encouraged him, admitting he also had unrequited feelings for someone, implying it was Yona. He advised his teammate to be honest about his feelings and gave him confidence. Meanwhile, Yona was in the library, searching for the magical portal that would take her back to her world, but she still couldn't find it. Frustrated and upset, she accidentally used her powers, knocking books off the shelves. Young, who was nearby, saw her and helped pick up the books. Touched by his kindness, Yona thanked him. Introducing himself, Young asked if she was looking for something and offered to help her find it. Yona grows nervous, afraid her true identity will be discovered. She tells Young she's just looking for something she lost. He advises her to stop searching and focus on her studies, saying that sometimes things appear when you least expect them. Yona finds his advice reasonable, thanks him, and decides to leave, redirecting her focus to finding the phantom. As she walks through the school, she notices John's teammate talking to himself. Curious, she approaches him and asks if something is wrong. He confides that he has a crush on a beautiful, popular girl, but fears confessing his feelings because he is often ridiculed. Yona feels sorry for him and tries to encourage him, telling him to have confidence and confess before it's too late. Her words inspire him, and he decides to tell the girl how he feels in class. He thanks Yona and leaves, making her happy that she could help. Later, as Yona leaves the school, a studious student calls out to her. Nervous because she doesn't know his name, she asks what he wants. He shocks her by saying he knows she's a demon hunter searching for the phantom in the school. Startled and afraid he'll expose her secret, she quickly pulls him aside to talk privately. She tries to deny it, jokingly saying she doesn't even know how to fish. However, the smart student sees through her lies and points to her ring, saying he knows it's magical. Surprised, Yona asks how he knows this. He pulls out a book and explains that he's read extensively about demons and knows they truly exist. Meanwhile, John's teammate waits for the girl he likes, ready to confess his feelings. However, she's late, and he begins to lose hope, deciding to leave. At the same time, the girl is sitting on the stairs with her friend crying. She reveals that she confessed her feelings to Young, but he rejected her. Her friend tries to comfort her, saying that John's teammate wanted to meet her because he likes her and wants to be with her. However, the girl dismisses him, saying they're not compatible. I'm beautiful and popular, and he's unattractive and an outcast. I could never date him, she says. John's teammate overhears everything, feeling heartbroken and betrayed. He sits alone in the classroom crying. Suddenly, a phantom appears and possesses him. The next day, he begins using the phantom's power. He suddenly has a lot of money, changes his appearance, and buys expensive clothes. He transforms from a ridiculed outcast to a handsome, confident student. The girls who once ignored him now admire him and compete for his attention. Ignoring them, he heads to the baseball field to train. John is surprised to see his teammates surrounded by admirers and wonders what's happening. He notices that the girls who used to cheer for him now flock to his teammate instead. Suspicious, he confides in Yona, telling her something strange is going on. However, Yona brushes it off, thinking John is jealous of his friend's newfound popularity. John insists, saying he feels there's more to the story. Just then, the studious student interrupts their conversation, claiming the teammate's transformation must be because of a phantom. John is shocked by this revelation, and Yona explains that the student is now part of their team. Meanwhile, the teammate approaches Young, speaking arrogantly. He boasts that he'll make all the girls love him before leaving to confront the girl he has a crush on. With newfound confidence, he asks her why she didn't meet him yesterday as they agreed. She starts treating him coldly and tells him she's not interested in him. Frustrated, the student decides to use the phantom's power within him. He looks into her eyes, casts a spell, and enchants her to fall in love with him. His plan works. She follows him, apologizing and asking for another chance. However, he rejects her and walks away. Meanwhile, Yona and her team are observing the situation from a distance. When Yona's magical device lights up, she confirms that he is a phantom. The team gathers to strategize, and the studious student shares useful information about phantoms, as he has read extensively about them. He explains that phantoms exploit human weaknesses, fulfilling their deepest desires in exchange for control. This type of phantom, he notes, craves fame and admiration, which aligns with the student's desire to be popular. The team devises a plan to defeat him. Yona suggests luring him to a secluded spot away from other students to avoid putting them in danger. She volunteers to pretend to confess her love to the Phantom, creating an opportunity for the team to capture him. John is against the idea, worried for her safety, but Yona insists. She sends the student a message, setting up a meeting. The studious student offers to join them to help, but they decline, wanting to minimize risks. That night, Yona goes to the library at the agreed time. The Phantom arrives, laughing arrogantly, believing she is genuinely in love with him. However, Yona mocks him and immediately attacks. A fight ensues, and she manages to knock him to the ground. Yona feels victorious, thinking she has defeated him. Realizing he can't handle her alone, the Phantom laughs and decides to use his powers. Suddenly, one of the girls arrives and attacks Yona to protect him. She pulls Yona by the hair and hits her, forcing John to intervene and separate them. But more girls arrive, all under the Phantom's spell, defending him fiercely. The Phantom uses them as a human shield, ordering them to attack Yona and her team. Shocked and overwhelmed, the team struggles to find a solution. They try reasoning with the girls, but their efforts fail. Discouraged, they feel helpless until the studious student arrives just in time. He reveals that he has discovered the Phantom's weakness: his eyes. He explains they must cover them to neutralize his power. Yona, panicking, doesn't know what to do. Suddenly, the weather changes dramatically, with thunder and lightning filling the sky. The Phantom instinctively covers his eyes to protect himself, breaking the magical spell. The girls collapse unconscious, freeing the team. Recognizing the opportunity, Yona seizes the moment. She wields her magical sword and strikes the Phantom. Her attack is successful. She defeats him, seals him, and retrieves the magical stone. Afterward, the girls regain consciousness, returning to their normal selves with no memory of what happened. The affected student also wakes up, confused and unaware of the events. He leaves the area, while Yona and her team celebrate their success. They thank the studious student for saving their lives and are curious about how he knows so much about phantoms. He shows them an old book he inherited from his grandfather, containing all the information about phantoms. However, when they try to read it themselves, they realize it's written in a secret code. Now, they understand that the studious student is special and decide he must be part of their team. They accept him as one of their own and leave the area feeling elated. As they walk away, Young appears, wearing a magical ring similar to Yona's. It's revealed that he's also a phantom hunter and was the one who controlled the weather to help her defeat the phantom. Later that night, Yona falls asleep and dreams that she has returned to her world. She sees all the phantom hunters lying unconscious on the ground, including the school principal. Shocked, she runs to the principal, trying to wake her up. Suddenly, Yona wakes up from the nightmare, startled. She realizes it was just a dream, but feels that something dangerous is approaching. The next day at school, she finds John waiting for her. Noticing she seems off, he asks what's wrong. She tells him she hasn't been sleeping well and shares the recurring nightmares she's been having. To cheer her up, John offers her some candy. Yona happily thanks him, but wonders why he always has sweets, even though he's an athlete and shouldn't eat them often. Suspicious, she questions him, and John nervously admits he got them for free from the supermarket. Yona starts to suspect he has feelings for her, but doesn't press the issue. Suddenly, a female student rushes out of the classroom and accidentally bumps into Yona. She quickly apologizes and hurries away, crying. Yona is puzzled by the girl's state and asks John about her. He explains that she's a girl the students bully because she's considered unattractive and wears glasses due to poor eyesight. Meanwhile, the girl goes to her locker, only to find her clothes ruined and covered in garbage. She overhears the bullies laughing and mocking her, saying she smells bad. Embarrassed and deeply hurt, she has no choice but to wear her dirty clothes as she has a PE class next. She heads to the sports field, but the bullies start mocking her appearance. They throw balls at her, causing her to fall to the ground. The teacher notices and asks if someone is bothering her, but the bullies lie, saying, "We're just joking with her." They also claim she fell in the bathroom, which is why her clothes are dirty. Afraid of them, the girl doesn't dare tell the teacher they're lying and endures the humiliation. Just then, A brave student arrives, defending her by taking the ball from the bullies and throwing it far away to stop their harassment. One of the bullies gets angry and wants to start a fight with the brave student, but her classmate stops her, reminding her that the teacher is watching. The bullied girl is moved by the brave student's actions and later goes to the bathroom to wash her clothes. She thanks the brave student for standing up for her. The brave student encourages her to be courageous and stand up for herself, but the girl replies, "I can't do that. I'm ugly, and I have no friends. Everyone bullies me." The brave student is affected by her words and tells her that if she doesn't try to change, things will remain the same forever. She then leaves, leaving the girl deep in thought. Later, the bullied girl receives a call from the bullies, ordering her to buy lunch for them. Out of fear, she agrees. She buys the food and delivers it to them, but instead of thanking her, they mock her again and even threaten to hit her for being late. Fortunately, Yona happens to see this. Determined to teach the bullies a lesson, she uses her powers to cast a magical spell, causing the food to fly into their faces, ruining their appearance. However, Yona is shocked to see the brave student standing behind her. Worried that she might have witnessed everything, Yona quickly leaves. Back in class, she shares the incident with her team, but they reassure her that the brave student probably didn't notice anything unusual. That night, the bullies decide to punish the bullied girl. They lock her in the science lab, warning her not to tell anyone and promising to let her out the next day. They leave, laughing. Scared and alone, the girl calls out for help, but no one hears her. She feels helpless and sinks into despair. Suddenly, a phantom appears behind the bullied girl, approaching her and deciding to take over her body. Meanwhile, one of the bullies realizes she forgot her phone in the lab and decides to go back to retrieve it. When she enters, she doesn't find the bullied girl and assumes she's hiding. She starts looking for her but notices drops of water falling from the ceiling. Confused and unsure of the reason, she suddenly comes face to face with the bullied girl, whose appearance has turned terrifying, almost ghost-like. Terrified, the bully screams and faints. The next day, rumors spread throughout the school, creating an atmosphere of fear. When Yona arrives, she notices the students are scared and many haven't shown up. Curious, she heads to her classroom and asks her team what happened. John explains that the bully fainted last night, and when she woke up, she claimed to have seen a ghost in the lab. Yona is shocked by what she hears and decides to investigate the lab herself, with John accompanying her despite his fear. Yona reassures John that her magical tool isn't glowing, indicating no immediate danger. Suddenly, Young enters the lab, asking them to leave because it's getting late. They heed his advice and leave. Later, they meet with the smart student, who has gathered more information from his book. He reveals that the new phantom feeds on fear, making everyone see their worst fears. Yona is startled by this revelation and realizes that the phantom has taken over the bullied girl. To lure the phantom out, Yona devises a plan. She and her team stay late in the classroom and play a horror movie, hoping to scare the phantom into revealing itself. However, the plan backfires as the team finds the movie laughably unrealistic and starts joking about it. Suddenly, Yona's magical tool begins to glow, signaling the phantom's presence. They rush to the lab and find the bullied girl there, her appearance drastically altered as the phantom has fully taken control of her body. Yona seizes the opportunity and charges at the phantom. A fierce fight ensues, and she almost manages to defeat it. However, the phantom realizes it's losing and uses its powers, targeting the smart student's greatest fear, clowns. The student begins hallucinating that clowns are surrounding him, and he collapses to the ground, crying in terror. Next, the phantom turns to John, exploiting his fear of his strict coach, who appears yelling at him to train harder. John is overwhelmed, sitting on the ground sobbing. Yona is stunned by what's happening and desperately tries to snap them out of their hallucinations. But nothing works. The phantom approaches Yona and forces her to confront her nightmares, seeing the school principal and her teammate lying motionless on the ground. Terrified, Yona starts crying, unable to break free from the illusion. At that moment, the brave student arrives just in time. She is the only one without a visible weakness and knows Yona's secret as a phantom hunter. Approaching Yona, she slaps her across the face, snapping her out of the nightmare. Her plan works, and Yona regains her composure. The brave student encourages her to summon her courage and fight back. Grateful, Yona gathers her strength, overcoming the hallucinations. Fueled by determination and anger, Yona attacks the phantom with her magical sword, striking it down and forcing it out of the bullied girl's body. She traps the phantom's spirit and retrieves the magical stone from it. Yona thanks the brave student for her help and sits down with her, asking how she discovered her secret. The brave student explains that she had seen Yona using her powers multiple times and realized she wasn't an ordinary girl. Surprised by her cleverness, Yona confides in her, revealing that she's a phantom hunter on a mission to capture them. She then invites the brave student to join her team, and the student agrees, promising to support her. The next day in class, the teacher asks the students to pair up and draw portraits of each other for grades. Yona and her teammates decide to work together as a group, but they quickly discover that none of them have any artistic skills. Unfortunately, John decides to get creative, suggesting they use a giant canvas to draw. This, of course, backfires, as it takes far too much time. John attempts to draw the brave student, but his sketch turns her into something resembling a zombie. Furious, she insists on drawing instead. However, her attempt at drawing John makes him look like a cartoon character. The teacher notices their antics, scolds them for fooling around, and deducts points from their grades. With limited time left, the team scrambles to come up with a plan to complete their task before the deadline. In this scene, the clever student steps in to save the situation by attempting to draw Yuna. Despite initial doubts, they all agree that he is talented in drawing. He succeeds in sketching her almost exactly as she looks in real life. However, he feels exhausted afterward and falls asleep. After class, 3 girls approach the teacher. It turns out they've been close friends since childhood. They ask him if they can work on their graduation project together. Impressed by their friendship, he agrees, making the girls happy, and they thank him. The girls decide to go to a restaurant to eat together. Sitting at a table, one of them, a kind-hearted girl, goes to get food for the group. While doing so, she notices Hyuna and feels concerned, wondering if the bullies might be forcing her into a situation like they did with the unpopular girl. She follows Hyuna and asks if she is taking all that food for her friends willingly or out of fear. Hyuna explains that she's bringing the food for her closest friends and shows her the matching rings the 3 of them wear. This reassures Yuna, who realizes she was mistaken. Inspired, Yuna decides to bring food for her own team. When she gets back to her team, she encourages them, saying, "We need to work together and be united if we want to catch the phantom." They reassure her, promising to help and reminding her that they are mature and capable. But in less than a second, John and the brave student start fighting over the food like children. Frustrated, Yuna takes the food away from them and walks off to sit alone. Young notices her and comes over to talk. He asks her why she's sitting by herself and where her team is. She explains that every time they come together, they end up fighting and can't seem to agree on anything. Young reassures her, saying that this is normal for a new team since they don't know each other well yet. He tells her that as they spend more time together, they'll grow closer and stop fighting. Feeling comforted by his words, Yuna thanks him. However, Young forgets his deck of cards. Yuna grabs them and runs after him to return them, but she's surprised to find that he has disappeared. She's left puzzled, unable to understand how he could leave so quickly. Don't forget like and subscribe for part 2.